Hello, everyone. We're really excited to be here today to share with you about the amazing work we've done at Measurement Canada. My name is Jasper Chen, and I am the Product Management Fellow, and I will be co-presenting with our project lead at Measurement Canada, Michael J.
Thanks, Jasper, for that warm introduction. Before we kick off the presentation, I wanted to say that we have already been thinking about digital at Measurement Canada, but the introduction of the fellowship to Measurement Canada has really shown things for us. And in particular, the key thing that we've learned from this is that digital really starts with people and being focused on what their needs are.
Now, before we get into our topic, I'd like to introduce a few more key members that were critical to the success of our journey. Aside from Michael and myself, we have four more members on our team: Colleen Birmingham, Tony Machado, Ramis Kawaja, and Noor Saeed. Now, to get going on our fellowship experience, you need to first understand what Measurement Canada does. Have you ever wondered when you go to the gas station to fill up your car, or when you see your electrical bill, who checks to make sure that you're not being overbilled? Well, rest assured, because Measurement Canada is on it.
Right. So Measurement Canada is the federal government agency that's responsible for protecting buyers and sellers in the marketplace from mismeasurement. We're involved in all sectors of the economy. You can think about us from the point of view of scales in grocery stores, gas pumps, electricity meters, mines, and grains. We're everywhere. Our work starts in our lab, where we look at the devices that are coming into the marketplace and make sure that they can measure accurately, and also measure sure that they'll perform well in the marketplace. And that's where our inspectors take over. They're out there in the field doing inspections to make sure that those devices continue to work properly, and they're there also to investigate complaints.
So, in the world of Measurement Canada, inspectors fall into one of two disciplines: weights and measures and electricity and gas. To help us better understand these two roles, I'd like to introduce Barbara Stark and Daryl Greyjoy. And yes, we are diehard Game of Thrones fans. Barbara is a weights and measures inspector and is responsible for working with scales and pumps of all different sizes. You can sometimes find her at your local grocery store or gas station, making sure the equipment is functioning properly. Daryl is an electricity and gas inspector and is responsible for working with large electrical installations and gas pipelines. He is generally found working at utility sites, inspecting things like transformers and gas chromatographs. Now, during our discovery, we heard from Barbara and Daryl that they both found it frustrating when attempting to plan out their work schedule. And when we broke down this problem, we realized that it composed of three smaller problems. So when Barbara receives a new inspection tasking, they are typically handed off to her in one of three main ways. One, through emails or Outlook task; two, phone call or SMS; or three, face-to-face conversations. This multi-channel tasking system is extremely overwhelming to manage. This problem is further amplified as the data received is not readily available for another tool to streamline. This results in Barbara needing to scribble notes onto a piece of paper to take down information, or needing to remember which email something came from. But Barbara's pain has only just begun. Now that she has received the new tasking, she must conduct additional research to find critical information and resources such as technical documentation, relevant historical results, points of contacts, and more. This process requires Barbara to gather and analyze data over a number of fragmented data sources and repositories. She must manually navigate through them to extract what she needs. And now that Barbara has a good understanding of what needs to be done for each task, she must now put together a working schedule. This process typically involves scratching down information onto a piece of paper with the help of a map to locate the sites. Since each tasking has a different level of service commitment, Barbara must play a bit of Tetris to optimize her schedule. In the case of Daryl, he has the additional step of coordinating with the utilities to find a time slot that works for everybody. So when we look at all three problems holistically and imagining needing to do this every week, it's easy to see why Barbara and Daryl consider this to be their biggest pain point. These are just some of the comments we heard directly from inspectors showing their level of frustration and dissatisfaction with this problem.
And aside from the obvious frustration that inspectors feel, it's also a management issue for Measurement Canada. We divert $1.4 million of effort into the planning process itself. And that's 70% of that effort is expended by inspectors sitting at their desks planning rather than out there doing inspections. With an annual budget of $27 million a year and only 200 inspectors to cover all of Canada, Measurement Canada really needs to have those inspectors out there in the field and not sitting at their desks doing planning. So to illustrate the point more clearly and to bring it home to everyone around the table, I'm going to use the example of the smart cart. In 2019, Measurement Canada approved the smart cart as a pilot. As you can see, it's a neat little digital innovation. It's a shopping cart that's a rolling checkout station. The key feature of this that was important for Measurement Canada was that it includes a digital scale. And if we look and consider the life of a shopping cart, especially trying to make it through a Canadian winter, you can imagine that this thing's going to take some abuse. So do you really think that it's going to make it through the winter? Is it still going to measure properly and charge you fairly at the end of the winter? Well, that's kind of what the point of this is that if our inspectors are sitting there planning, they're not out there protecting you in the marketplace. And so we need a solution that frees them up to get them out there and do their jobs for you.
So to show you how we respond to this problem, we're going to walk you through our prototype. For the purpose of this demonstration, I will be playing the role of Barbara, our weights and measures inspector. You may recall that Barbara currently gets her tasking from a number of different sources, multi-channel tasking. Our prototype responds to this by streamlining all the channels into one screen. From this landing page, Barbara can see all the tasks that have been assigned to her but are waiting to be organized into a schedule. In addition, this page solves Barbara's problem of needing to access multiple fragmented data sources to understand what her tasks will entail. Barbara can quickly view these critical information by clicking on the View Details button right here. In this view, Barbara can see a lot more information, such as the nature of the complaint, the full address and contact information of the site, and even where the site is on a map. From these two views alone, Barbara has enough information to be able to create a functional work schedule. Our application takes it one step further by addressing Barbara's need to optimize her schedule with the batching feature we developed. To begin creating her schedule, she will simply tap on Schedule Inspections. A unique nature about Barbara is that she prioritizes a few important tasks and then groups nearby ones to maximize her efficiency. To support this behavior, we drew upon our Agile Scrum experience by introducing the concept of batching. A batch is a group of tasks targeted to be completed in a specific time frame. To create a batch, we simply click on Add New Batch. With this batch, Barbara can group her high priority task with other nearby tasks. For the purpose of this demo, we will schedule all 3 tasks into Batch 1. To progress to the next stage, we will click on Next to review our working schedule. Now that Barbara has scheduled her batch at a high level, she can begin to look for ways to optimize her schedule. She can look at the map to quickly understand where the sites are relative to each other and to optimize her driving route. Now let's say Barbara decides that it is more efficient to hit up Bob's Deli first due to her starting point and decides to reorder the schedule. Now that her schedule is optimized, she will click on Done to confirm her schedule. And just like that, Barbara has finished creating an optimized schedule to guide her day. To begin working on this batch, she will tap on the Activate Batch button and provide an end date to represent when she expects all the work in this batch to be completed. Now let's fast forward a bit and say Barbara has completed 2 of her inspections. And just before she begins her last task, she learns that her coworker, Eddie Brock, is actually heading to the Longo's Dixie in Mississauga to perform another inspection. She sees an opportunity to gain further efficiency by aligning with Eddie and her manager to offload the complaint task to Eddie, given that he is already heading there. So Barbara can simply reassign this task to him like so. So while we are very pleased with the outcome of this prototype, what ultimately matters is how the users feel about it. Michael, what sort of a response did we get from the inspectors?
And we've gotten such a positive response from inspectors just working on this prototype alone. The comments show that they're very excited about it and it does exactly what they need. And we know that they'll be very excited to continue to develop this further from the prototype stage.
That's fantastic to hear, Michael. We are ecstatic and thrilled by the response we've received thus far. And while there were many factors contributing to the success of our fellowship, we identified 3 key things which we felt were critical to the success of our fellowship. We are confident that if your agency does these 3 things, you too can experience the same success. So the first thing we identified was that there was a mindset change from being solution-oriented to being problem-oriented. Michael, could you walk us through what this process was like for you?
Absolutely. I can reflect on this very personally because I remember being at the first time that we met in Toronto to start the fellowship. And I remember at that time thinking that what we really needed to do after the fellowship in 9 months was to put this functional product in the inspector's hands. And I think if we had continued on that path, I'm sure we would have built something. It's just not clear that it would have been the right thing for inspectors. And so what we found is that by actually focusing on the user and their needs, enabled us to really sort of develop something that responded to their needs. And it's pretty much a slam dunk that if we continue to develop this, it's going to be the right thing.
That's right. We put this mindset into action by dedicating 3 months out of our 10-month fellowship to focus solely on understanding the problem space. We pushed beyond understanding the what but to also understand how and why it was a pain point for our users. This level of understanding served two main purposes. It allowed us to better put ourselves in the user's shoes and empathize with their challenges, and it empowered us to design a solution that makes sense and solves the user's problems.
And further, I often hear of IMIT professionals that tell us that we should focus on using off-the-shelf solutions because they'll be cheaper and they won't need to pay for development costs. But the reality is the costs will come in a different form. We'll need to spend time and money on training inspectors and staff to use a product like that when it's not something that fits their needs or is intuitive for them. So really, why should we settle for that? And what we've learned firsthand from the fellowship is that if we focus on users and what their needs are, we can get exactly what we need.
The second thing we identified was the decision to keep users involved from end to end. We achieved this by forming two user panel groups, which we engage on a bi-weekly schedule, one for weights and measures and one for electricity and gas. A user panel group is a group of would-be users that provides advice and expert opinions on the product being built for them. By having these two groups, we benefited in two main ways. We empowered users to help shape the final product, which create champions for it. And lastly, we were able to quickly learn what worked and what didn't work so we could course correct as we went along. Success is asking the users what they need and continually giving that to them.
And also reflecting back, it takes patience. I think, today we're reflecting on a crowd that's mostly digital converts, but if there are those that are out there that are more in the management or decision-making kind of mode of things, I'd like to kind of reflect that it takes patience to do this. It takes patience to start a process and not know what the end product will be. And it also takes trust and faith that the digital professionals that are working for you will iterate, take the user's feedback and turn it into exactly the product that you need. And if your leadership is capable of that, if that's something that works for you, then you'll see the benefits of what user-centric digital design can do for you.
So over the past 10 months, we've achieved a lot. However, this journey is only the beginning. Michael, could you share with us what is Measurement Canada's plans looking ahead?
We're going to create digital capacity at Measurement Canada to capitalize on what we've gotten from the fellowship in terms of momentum and also the models that are there. We're going to create a digital team, and also we're going to use the prototype to develop a solution. It's going to be a digital microservice that's available in the cloud to inspectors.
That's phenomenal. It goes without saying that we are very excited to see where Measurement Canada will be in the next 12 to 24 months. We recognize that this journey has only just begun, and while there's a lot more to be done, we are confident that our time at MC has kickstarted a permanent change that will transform the organization from the inside out. On behalf of the fellows at the MC team, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of the Measurement Canada's employees who have been tremendously welcoming and supportive of our mission. We could not have done it without you. I would also like to thank all of the C4C staff who have been so supportive of our journey at every step of the way. Your commitment to us was critical to the success of our fellowship.
Thanks, Jasper. And on behalf of Measurement Canada, I'd like to thank the fellows for all their dedication and professionalism and support along the way. And also, we'd like to thank Code for Canada as well. Code for Canada has introduced us to new methods and models that are going to help us to carry on and further exploit the power of digital development.